Remember Elaine Chao? Elaine Chao was labor secretary under George W. Bush. Incidentally, she's also married to the top Republican in the Senate, Senator Mitch McConnell. They are a major Republican power couple in Washington, as these things go. These days, former Labor Secretary Elaine Chao works at Fox News as an on-air contributor. She was also recently nominated to serve on the board of directors at Fox. A few weeks ago, during an appearance on Fox, she talked about what in her words, stunning abuse of power it was for President Obama to strip the work requirement out of welfare. Now, that is not true. President Obama did not strip the work requirement out of welfare, quite the contrary. But Elaine Chao, as a Fox News contributor, went on TV and said it was true, and also that it is a terrible, terrible thing. Here she is a couple of weeks ago telling Lou Dobbs about how Mitt Romney will save the day with his super awesome jobs plan if he is elected. Elaine Chao is not just a Fox News contributor now. I should also mention that she is a national chair of the Mitt Romney for President campaign. So when she appears on Fox News to offer economic analysis, she is implicitly doing it as both a Fox News contributor and as a member of the Mitt Romney campaign, which is probably very convenient for the Mitt Romney campaign. This is Waleed Faris. Waleed Faris also works at Fox News. He serves as a Middle East and terrorism expert on Fox. This was him last week talking about how attacks on American embassies in Libya and Egypt and elsewhere in the Middle East and North Africa were caused by the Obama administration. Mr. Faris is not just a Middle East and terrorism analyst for Fox News. He's also an advisor on foreign policy and national security to the Mitt Romney campaign. So when he appears on Fox News, he gets to do both of those jobs, which is probably very convenient for the Mitt Romney for President campaign. Here's a guy named Jay Sekulow. He is a regular on Fox News. He appears frequently on the network to talk about legal news. Here he is last month talking on Fox about what a great intellectual leader Paul Ryan is and how his and Mitt Romney's position on the economy is the moral position on the economy. But Jay Sekulow is not just a Fox News regular. He's also an advisor to Mitt Romney, who, according to the folks at Politico, serves as liaison between Mr. Romney and movement conservatives. Chances are you remember John Bolton as the ambassador to the UN, who basically did not believe the UN should exist. Remember him from the George W. Bush years? Well, these days, Mr. Bolton has a gig as a contributor on Fox News. In this clip you can see here, he's explaining how the attack on the U.S. embassy in Libya last week that killed the U.S. ambassador and 3 others, how that was caused by the weakness and fecklessness of the Obama administration. But John Bolton is not just a Fox News TV guy. He is also a Romney campaign foreign policy advisor. So he gets to work for the Romney campaign while he works on Fox News. In fact, Mr. Bolton actually announced his endorsement of Mitt Romney during an appearance on Fox News. The folks at Media Matters have been tracking all of the overlap among Fox News contributors or analysts and the Romney campaign. A spokesperson for John Bolton told them that his joint role as a Fox News contributor and a Romney campaign advisor is totally okay and super ethical because Mr. Bolton is, quote, not paid by the campaign, and he gives foreign policy advice to lots of people. But probably the most amazing example of a Fox News contributor making efficient use of airtime is Karl Rove. Karl Rove does not work for the Romney campaign, of course, but he is the founder of the massive, massive pro-Romney, anti-Obama super PAC, right? And as a Fox News political analyst, he gets to go on TV, like, for example, earlier this year when he went on TV and analyzed his own campaign ad for Fox. Spoiler alert here is that he thought his own campaign ad was awesome and totally effective.
Your PAC, American Crossroads, super PAC, not just a regular PAC. This is a super PAC, all right? Put out a recent video.
Super PAC.
You bet. All right, so that's aimed at younger voters, obviously saying that you were sold a bill of goods. It didn't happen. That's where you're going with that.
Yeah, good. That's I'm glad you got the message. It's always good when a video like that.
Yeah, if
everybody gets it. Yeah, there we go.
Right.
There we
go. Karl Rove, in his role as Fox News political analyst and as a major financial player in the 2012 election, analyzing his own effect on the election. Now, there are a few different ways to object to this phenomenon, right? You can object to the idea that a purported news organization is paying people to report on and analyze their own work. They're working for a campaign, and they're also analyzing that campaign for an organization that at least still has the word news in its name. And that can sometimes seem cockamamie. But you don't have to be a liberal to be annoyed with that, right? You don't have to be an independent, news-minded person to be annoyed with that. I mean, okay, if you come from the left, there are lots of reasons you might object to things at Fox News. The fact that they are a subsidiary of the Romney campaign is surely one of the many things that could bother you about Fox News. But if you come from the right, here's why you might object to this from the right. If you come from the right, then your network, the television network of the right, is not just having conservative-leaning news analysis. They're having the Romney campaign on TV, and they are calling it conservative-leaning news analysis. Frank Rich of New York Magazine spent the week of the Republican convention absorbing a diet of pure, unadulterated conservative media, and he came back with some surprising news from the right. Turns out that Fox News right now is as frustrating to the right as it is to the left. And the brave, we're all behind Mitt Romney facade of the Fox News Republican establishment does not at all reflect the conservative grassroots. Quote, if you ventured beyond both the mainstream media and Fox, you learned it bore little resemblance to the mood of much of the right. You also learned that many in the grassroots were infuriated by the media airbrushing, to put it mildly. Away from the convention stage and from the mainstream media's coverage of it, dissension of various stripes was rife throughout the GOP coalition. If Fox doesn't speak for the right anymore, who do they speak for? And where does the right go without Fox?